Hi there. My name is John Stevens. I'm pastor of Zion Lutheran Church in Oregon City, Oregon, and we are part of the ELCA. And welcome to Dollar Store Children's Sermons, where we take a look at the lectionary text and we tie them to an item from the Dollar Tree or the junk drawer or the kids' room or the garage. You know how we've been doing it. Thank you so much for your partnership in this ministry. Thank you for spending a little bit of your week with me in this way. And most importantly, thank you for the love that you're sharing with your kids and your congregations and your families. You are rocking it. This is for the narrative lectionary, and we are out of Daniel. Woo, woo. Anyway, you just erase that last part from your mind. But we're out of Daniel. We're moving into fall programming. We're moving into the creation narrative. We're moving into all of that. And so, in that, looking at the text that we have out of Genesis, I am going to use painter's tape. Yep, I'm going to painter's tape, and we are going to this is new enough painter's tape. I just opened it up out of the box. Anyway, painter's tape, and got other things here, but I just took a trip. Look at that! Just took a trip to the Dollar Tree. So, painter's tape is what we're using for the narrative lectionary, and I'm talking about boundaries. And so what we're going to do is we're going to actually just... Anyway. Oh, that's funny. You might think this is a bit, but it's not. All I'm trying to do is get a little bit of painter's tape off so I can... Anyway, that is... Yes. I'm looking at boundaries. I'm looking at the end of the text for the narrative lectionary, it has, and God said, you can eat of all of the trees, you can eat of all of the things in this garden, but stay away from this tree. Stay away. I'm putting a boundary, and I'm commanding that you stay away. That you respect the boundaries that I have set up. And now, we know the story. We know that they don't respect the boundaries. We know that they get conned into the idea that, hey, that boundary wasn't there. I mean, you don't need to pay attention to that. And I like that in this story, in this creation poem, in this thing that gets, in the story that gets laid out about how God works with us, works with humankind, that there's this boundary that's set up that says, I know what's good for you, and I'm laying out this boundary, and it's for our benefit that it is there. I'm not going to unpack the entire story because, I mean, we spend all this time in Bible study, and which is not bad, but for the kids' sermon, for the story on the steps, for the sermon on the steps, it's a little much. So I'm looking at boundaries about how they are put there for a reason. And then, like, I have a boundary. One of the boundaries I had for my kids growing up is don't touch a hot stove. Yeah. When we have boundaries of do not cross that road. And usually it's added with do not cross the road unless someone's with you. Do not cross the road unless you look both ways. There's things put on there, but they're for our benefit. That is, God lays out this. And if we believe that our God is a trustworthy God, when God says, this is what I want, look at all the stuff I've created, and I ask that there's a boundary here, and you respect the boundary of what I have put out. And we are called to do that. And so the springboard, so we got the painter's tape, and the springboard about that is that if we're looking at how our God has set up boundaries, we as people of God are called to put our own boundaries that of respect and to respect other people's boundaries. We have the whole conversation that a kid, and growing up, we would have those things where we are like, oh, give Aunt Sally or give Uncle Frank or, a hug. And if your kid, or as a kid, you didn't feel like giving a person a hug, or you didn't like to be tickled, or you didn't, all those things that we normalize, we're setting up those boundaries is not only perfectly acceptable, but it is healthy, where a kid can decide whether that kid wants to be hugged, wants to be touched, wants to be whatever in that boundaries. Where, and we see at the very beginning, God gives us an example of boundaries that are set up, and ultimately that the repercussions of what can happen when we don't respect each other's boundaries and we don't respect the boundaries of God, respect the boundaries. So that's the direction I'm going at. Now, there are so many other directions that you can go on in this, but this is it's there. That we haven't even gotten into the point of the story where they do get conned, but we know what's going to happen. And so that's the direction I'm going on this. Boundaries, and how sometimes maybe actually the springboard for this is, sometimes creating a boundary can actually be a difficult thing, where it feels messy, and it feels like I don't know if sometimes it's hard work, and so, but we also know that it's important that we create those boundaries, and we have people that we know that we can trust, and the people that we trust respect our boundaries. So, as youth leaders and pastors, it would be good for us to also recognize the boundaries that are set up and how we respect the boundaries of those around us. Because in the end, that is a way of showing love for our kids and our families and our congregations. All right? And it's an example. All right. Well, okay. It's messy, but it's healthy. All righty? All righty? Alrighty. Anyway, I will see you next week. But before I leave, thank you again for the love that you are sharing with your kids and your congregations and your families. I'm talking to you. You are rocking it. All right? Peace.